What's up, everyone? It's that time again where we take that journey from riderz Nation to Hooligan Nation and discuss our Kiss fandom. Two dudes in the garage talking Kiss. On today's episode, we're going to discuss Kiss's first album, and we got some seriously interesting takes. So let's cue the intro, because you
got nothing to lose.
You wanted the best? Well, they retired. So you got two dudes in a garage.
talking Kiss. Welcome back to Hooligan Nation. I'm Anthony.
I'm Rocco.
Or John. Or John Rocco.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
A lot of people know me by many names.
Depends on the mood, I guess. How about that?
And it depends on what they call me, if I'm going to answer or not. So we're good.
On today's episode, we're going to discuss everything there is to discuss about Kiss's first album.
And foundational album, pretty much, right? Self-titled, foundational.
Self-titled.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss Kiss's self-titled debut. How's debut?
Debut works.
Debut works. All right. So before we get to that, this is the second episode that we're doing. Yes. What'd you think of the first episode?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, we have a lot of history following this band. And again, I don't get bored of talking about this. They've been part of my life since I'm 54. They've been a part of our life since we were young kids. So yeah, it was a lot of fun talking about Kiss, and I never lack things to say about them. So
yeah, I thought it was fun too. Actually, it was fun enough that if nobody watches these, I'm kind of cool with it. Like, I got to dive back in and completely dove back in.
Hear songs you haven't heard in forever.
Yeah, so I'm kind of cool with it.
Not to mention, I think there's an awful lot of us. Now, Kiss is officially retired, and there's an awful lot of us that probably has a lot of Kiss inside them that want to talk about.
So I had a lot of fun researching for this video today. I have now listened to Kiss's debut album twice, start to finish. I guess I have a newfound respect for it.
There's a lot that goes into making an album.
Yeah, I just have I think with Kiss more than anybody else, like you jump into all their compilations. At least I do.
Yeah, same. I told you double platinum, like from the first video.
Right. So yeah. I can't tell you the last time I listened to that album start to finish. I can't tell you the last time I did that. I know I did it twice in the last.
I also know that you brought up some interesting things about it that I never even thought about. About how many powerful songs became staples to what they do. That was a take that I didn't know. You know, you follow a band for as long as we have, you really feel like you know everything there is to know. But I have a feeling deep diving into all these albums is going to bring out some stuff that we never heard of before, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that is kind of cool, and that's the point of this. So just so we're clear, because we've never done this before, we're trying to give you the whole album experience. So we're going to talk about facts that have to do with the album. We're going to talk about album artwork. We're going to talk about little tidbits of information, stuff like who produced it, where it was recorded, and then we're going to get into album artwork, the track listing. We're even going to get into live set list, stage show, all of that kind of little Kiss geek stuff that most normal people don't even pay attention to. But before we get into that, Kiss is retired. Nobody gave Gene Simmons the memo that he's retired, by the way. I'm going to read an article that is, I think, about a week old. Actually, it was posted 18 hours ago, so it's not that old. Um, and this interview was with Classic Rock. Gene Simmons was asked which record he considered to be his best work. He noted Kiss was never about making incredible albums, but rather focusing on giving people a good show. It's not a good look to me. But in hindsight, Kiss never really spent enough time in the studio. Destroyer is okay, and I like Revenge, but Kiss was always more about the live experience, Simmons said. Naturally, as an antithesis, it's a big word for me.
Good word.
Simmons was asked about the worst record he ever made. He had a ready choice in mind, naming a Kiss album released in 1981, everybody's favorite music from The Elder. Simmons elaborated, claiming responsibility for the album's creation. I take the blame for it because it was my idea. I remember telling Bob Ezrin that I was writing a movie script. We were making a concept album based on that. And he said, let's do our own Tommy. I said, yeah, if The Who can do it, why can't we? Well, the straight answer is because we're not The Who. And they're not The Who. But I'm okay with them.
You know what? The Elders was horrible, but it also showed a lot of balls. Like they were never really afraid to try anything.
True. He goes on to say, uh, there are some fans who love that record. To me, it was dishonest. But really, the most dishonest record we ever made was Carnival of Souls, when we were trying to follow a trend instead of just being ourselves. So I just thought it's current events on a retired band. I'd throw that in there in case anybody didn't catch this. I just thought that was interesting. And to go off of that, I found out another little tidbit. You can't fact check any of this. But I read that both Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley have called the original Kiss album their favorite album. I guess we'll find out by the end of this if they're right or not.
Well, like I said, I mentioned earlier how you brought up some interesting facts off camera about that album that I never knew. And if you really look at it, and what we're probably going to be covering is, I don't think I ever realized, especially because I listened to a lot of compilation albums, how powerful the amount of songs on that album became mainstays for them.
Yeah, I mean, what did we say? There's 6 songs
Right.
off of this record that were staples in the live set list forever. Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, Deuce, and Black Diamond.
Yeah.
Most of those songs, I mean, Strutter came in and out of the set list, I believe. Nothing to Lose came in and out of the set list, but Cold Gin, Deuce, and Black Diamond, I'm pretty sure once they went in the set list, they probably never came out of the set list.
They were foundational songs.
Maybe Black Diamond because Eric Carr sang Black Diamond when he was in the band, but maybe it went in and out then. But I think pretty much overall, there were more tours with Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, Deuce, and Black Diamond than anything else. And I don't think Kiss has another album. And as we go along, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kiss has another album that comes even close to that in the totality of their career. So let's get into this. Kiss's debut album was released February 18th, 1974. It was produced by Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise. It was recorded at Bell Sound Studio in New York City. The album is 35 minutes long and has 10 songs on it, even though the original pressing, there were only 9 songs on the record. For the second pressing, they added Kissin' Time, which, if you ask me, they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, it could have been left off.
The album sold 75,000 copies in its initial pressing and was certified gold on June 8th, 1977. Joel Brodsky, I have no idea who this guy is, photographed the album cover. He allegedly photographed over 400 album covers during his career. I didn't go into who else he photographed. This was interesting to me. 4 songs on the album have multiple lead vocals, and 1 song has actually 3 lead vocals. I don't think you're going to find another Kiss album that has 4 songs on it that have multiple lead vocals. I mean, I'm not really sure if Shout It Out Loud studio version has multiple lead vocals. I know that live it's Gene and, well, it was Gene and Paul, and then when Ace and Peter came back, it was Gene, Paul, and Ace, I think. But I don't remember right now if it was like that in the studio. So we all know that they got Psycho Circus was, what is it? You Wanted the Best. All 4 of them sing a verse on that. But other than that, I mean, once Ace and Peter leave the band, it becomes the Paul and Gene show.
But I mean, your band, that they started out, when they first started out, you really see their influences of who they're going to become as a band. And their influences, they've said over and over again that the Beatles were their biggest influence, and all 4 Beatles
absolutely comes through in the first record, especially with the lead vocal changes.
And it's smart. It gives you a bunch of different sounds coming from the same band. Yeah, I think it's very smart.
Let's start with the album cover, which we're going to put up right there.
Okay.
Hopefully it goes up right there without a problem. Right there. And if you look at the album cover right here,
okay,
if Peter Criss's makeup does not jump out at you, you are 100% blind and you need to go to the eye doctor. Here's another little tidbit. Allegedly, Peter's makeup looks like this because he didn't do his makeup for the photo shoot. He's the only one that didn't. They called it tribal lion makeup, I think they called it. Whoever did the makeup was going for the tribal lion look.
Okay.
Another little bit of factual tidbit, which really tells you all about our little space ace. You'll notice that he has silver hair. Go ahead, ask me how he got silver hair.
Well, being that he is the spaceman, the space cadet, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting thing of how that happened.
Yeah, he went and got silver spray paint and spray painted his hair, and he thought that it would wash out. And guess what it didn't do?
It didn't wash out.
It didn't wash out. So I thought that was interesting too, and I've always thought this. Is it me? Does Paul Stanley picture look like a mugshot?
Yeah, I would say so.
Just looks like a mugshot to me. The only one that looks like they really should look is Gene Simmons.
Yeah, and you could see the evolution. Eventually, it spread out more.
Right.
You could see the infancy, maybe not Peter, but you could see once, you could see the beginnings of where it's going to eventually go.
The record opens up to Strutter.
I like it. It's a good tune. It's a staple of theirs. Um, also a lot of videos. You always see a lot of Strutter pop up a lot. That's why on Kiss videos for some reason. It's just one of the things I've always liked about it is when they show videos of them, you can see how in sync they were as a band back then. With a lot of videos with it, that and Deuce, like you see it's the beginning stages, but they were a tight unit back then.
They look like
when
a
I think of
gang.
that, yeah. When I think of Strutter, that's what I think about. How much of a unit as a band they were together.
They really they really come across as one tight unit, which we all know that didn't last very long.
Not at all. Like most bands.
Also, another interesting thing, I'm just I'm just thinking about this. It's going to be funny to go through the evolution of Kiss albums. All four of these guys played on this record. There's no studio musicians listed on this record. So I'm thinking, how long does that go?
Right. That's
until
yeah. I mean,
until we start with the studio musician things.
Any of you Kiss fans watching this knows that their egos started at a very early time. So yeah, egos get involved and a lot of things happen, but they still made great music and put on great shows.
Yeah, I like Strutter. Not my favorite Kiss song. Definitely not my least favorite. All right, so second song, Nothing to Lose.
Nothing to Lose is a great song.
Which version?
It's obviously the acoustic. I've talked to you about it before off camera. Every time, what's funny is every time I listen to it on the album, I think about the inflection and all the other things that they've done on the acoustic. That's one of my favorite acoustic songs all time, not just Kiss in general.
I think it's one of my favorite songs all time. That unplugged version of Nothing to Lose.
Fantastic.
Is musical genius to me.
I agree.
So Nothing to Lose. I love the two lead vocals again. Like that really comes out in this record constantly.
Yeah.
That Gene Simmons and Peter Criss playing off of each other. I thought that was great. I hate the piano. It sounds dated. It reminds me of a Leonard Skinner song. Like, I don't believe the piano belonged anywhere in it. Other than that, I thought it was a great song. And it's also you said this earlier when we were listening to it, it's a dated song. Like, that version of it sounds like a 1970s song where, maybe other songs on the album aren't so dated. That one's really dated. Which brings us to Cold Gin.
Right.
Cold Gin, to me, I just find it funny that the guy who sings it is the guy who allegedly has never had a drink in his life. And the other funny part I thought about it is I read an article last night. Ace Frehley wrote Cold Gin. And he says that he never really drank gin. It just sounded like a good song.
He was right. He was definitely right because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I thought, and it's another staple in the live set.
Right.
I just thought it was it's a great song. It's not a dated song. It does not sound like it's from the 70s to me. Cold Gin is a song that sounds like it could come out today and be a hit today.
Yeah, I could see that.
Let Me Know.
I like it. There's a lot.
No, I meant.
Oh, you're talking about the song.
Yeah.
I like it because it's got definite, I think we were talking about it. It sounds like it has like a little bit of a Beatles feel in it. Definitely like a 50s kind of vibe to it. I've always liked it because I mean I do like oldies music too. Um, so yeah, that's my take on it. Is it's kind of like they're kind of like paying tribute to like a past.
Another two vocal song, which I don't know why it's like the pulpit that I'm on for this record. Like
Yeah, but it's a good
it definitely has a Beatles feel to it.
right.
Gene is trying to bring out his inner Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can tell. And then like all of a sudden at the end of the song the Beatles feel goes away and the end of the song rocks.
Yeah.
It's
There was definitely a plan there for that.
it's an interesting
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
There's a few interesting songs, bad or good.
Right.
There's a few interesting songs on this record, and that's one of them. Oh, and now we get to Kissin' Time.
You mean the ninth song, 10th song, the one that was kind of omitted and then added?
Yeah, that one they probably should have stayed omitted.
It's not horrible, but yeah, it didn't need to be on the album.
Kissin' Time to me sounds like a 1970s commercial jingle.
Actually, that's a good take on that. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I could see that.
Like I could picture that song for like a chapstick commercial.
That's very specific, but yeah, I guess I could probably see that.
We should start a marketing company and bring that song to the next chapstick commercial.
All right, that'll have to go to the laboratory. We'll have to book something out.
Kissin' Time, 3 lead vocals. I love the cymbals in the song. I don't know why, but it just jumps out at me. But all in all, it's a forgettable song that probably should have stayed off. All right, let's move on to Deuce.
I love it.
You love everything.
Well, it's the core of what they started with, man. It's like
We could have a 3-minute podcast, video, whatever we're doing here.
I did tell you this is my favorite band.
I love it.
There's some things that go into me that why they're my favorite band.
What do you love about it?
I love Kiss. It's not all about the bells and whistles. I actually like the music too. You know that. I honestly, what made me love Deuce is a video. First time I heard that song, they were on stage, black and white, and I heard that when you see Deuce, you see them all moving in the direction, like similar to what I said about Strutter. I love the whole thing when a band is just bringing it, and they're all like, I don't really know how to word it, but like when they're all on the same page, and they're just really getting everything out there, and they're in unison. To me, that brings that to it.
Well, for Deuce, the things that jump out to me are the bass line.
It's got good bass in that.
The lead guitar work is amazing to me. The harmony between Gene and Paul, and who could forget Paul's "Do It"?
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah, you can't listen to that song without
Do It.
Yeah. It was actually a perfect spot for it.
And Peter's drum beat, if you really, really listen to it, Peter's drum beat is like a one-of-a-kind drum beat. And I'm going to say this again. That guy don't get the credit for being the drummer that he was.
Like I was telling you before, and maybe it's because of the producing or whatever, to me, it's very clean. Everything he plays on the drums comes across very clean. And you don't always get that. Some of it's overproduced, but for the most part, he always, it's hard for me to really explain exactly what I'm talking about, but you hear everything he's playing nice and sharp and clean. And I've always liked that about his drumming. I'm not a drummer, so, it's hard for me to really, give you
One of the amazing things to me from being a Kiss fan for all these years is it seems like Peter Criss was never impressed with having a million drums or beating on them drums as fast as you possibly can or as hard as you possibly can. And Ace Frehley is the same kind of guitar player.
You know how I feel about
It was more about melody and music
and
than it
feel.
was about speed
Right.
or loudness. Look,
And that's where Ace would get criticized. But to me, it's not. If you're playing with your heart and your feel,
it
it's a lot
comes
better
through.
than just going fast.
Yeah, and it really comes through. Like
Yeah.
Things that came through to me over and over again listening to this album was Ace Frehley was a really good guitar player.
I think so.
Peter Criss was a really good drummer. No, he was not the fastest. He was not the loudest. But
Right. There's different categories, and maybe you would grade them differently if you're looking for speed or whatever. But if you're looking for quality music,
sometimes, to me, sometimes drums get lost in a song. They're just the
but that's the power behind it.
they're
That's your
just
rhythm
the
section.
foundation.
Yeah.
They're just the foundation of the song.
But that's your timing. That's everything of the song. That's a big part of the song.
But it seems to me in a lot of old Kiss songs, you hear the drums, you hear the cymbals, you hear the beat, you hear
Right.
that
That's
kind
kind of
of
what I
stuff.
meant by clean. Like you're hearing it.
How about Love Theme from Kiss?
Don't really have much of an opinion on that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, it's there. Actually, that's my opinion. It's there.
I wrote down a forgettable instrumental that sticks out like a sore thumb.
It's not hard. Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it was necessary.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely wasn't necessary is the best thing that I can say about it. So we'll move on from it. 100,000 years.
I like it. I know I'm going to go. I'm not going to say love it, like I did with the other ones. I actually really like it. I like the vocals a lot in it.
Musically, I think it's the most complex song, definitely on the album.
A lot of good guitar work too.
It's dominated by Ace's amazing guitar work and Peter's drumming. That's kind of what I put down. But it's not my favorite Kiss song, but it does, from a non-musician like me, it comes across as a musically complex song, which is unusual for Kiss.
The flip side, yeah, like the flip side from me, I mean, musician, I play guitar and sing. My take on it is that I've said to you many times before, like, keep it simple, stupid, right? That was something that used to come out an awful lot. And I think Kiss is really honestly at their best when they keep it simple. They play the good guitar riff solo in it, and they keep it simple. That song, like you said, they get a little intricate with a lot of things, and they go, they show their musicianship a lot more in that song, and I like it. But I think they keep it simple, stupid a lot of times for most of their songs, which I like.
Yeah,
Sometimes bands do too much, right? Sometimes bands try to be too fast. They try to add too much to something, and sometimes it'll ruin a song sometimes.
Yeah, look, I'm not a big Rush fan. And part of the reason why I'm not a big Rush fan is for that exact reason. It almost feels like rocket science.
Right.
I-
And I've seen them in concert too. They put on a good show. They're incredible musicians. But it's different strokes for different folks. I'm not like bashing them or nothing, but just
No,
yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not bashing them either. But I don't listen to my music to be rocket science. So they end the first album with what I think is one of the greatest Kiss songs ever created, Black Diamond. Again, two vocals, a great Peter Criss song. I mean,
Yeah. Probably one of his best. I mean,
might not be a better Peter Criss song
yeah,
out there than Black Diamond.
We've never really talked about that point, but it's probably my favorite song that he sings. Hard Luck Woman I like a lot too. But
yeah, it's just a different kind of song. Like I like Hard Luck Woman too, and we named this after it. I like Hooligan.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Not all of the words to Hooligan make much sense, but that's
It sounds
par
good.
for
It's
the
a good
course
song.
when it comes to a Kiss song.
Right.
Um,
No, but Black Diamond, it's a rocking song. Like,
the
yeah,
the one thing with Black Diamond, and you brought this up, the ending is completely unneeded and is terrible.
I agree. I don't know what they were thinking there.
It's much better. It fits Black Diamond. The ending of it fits much better in a live show when the drums are going up.
Absolutely.
Like that's where it fits in. When you're listening to it just as music and the reverberation in it
Right.
is just.
And if you're listening and you don't recall it and you're a Kiss fan, give yourself a listen to that. You'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, play it.
Yeah.
And drop it in the comments below if you agree with us, because there's a couple things on this record. Look at this is I have to agree with Ace Frehley and Gene Simmons. By looking at the track listing, this has to be the best Kiss album. It has to be. Now I'm pretty sure we'll change that. I'll change that opinion 9 times because that's just me. But looking at this, Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, Deuce, 100,000 Years, and Black Diamond, all on one record. Like most of them are staples in the live show. Like most of them are songs in the live show that if you didn't play them, people would go crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that counts a lot to me. All right. How about the concert set list? What do you got?
Well, this was July 11th, 1974. And, they come out with their You Want It the Best, You Got the Best. They come out with Deuce. Then they come out with Nothing to Lose. Then they did Strutter. Then they did Cold Gin. Then they did Let Me Go Rock and Roll. Then they did Watching You. Then they did 100,000 Years. Then they did Black Diamond. Surprisingly, they did Parasite after that. Then She. And then they did Firehouse. They're not showing, I'm sure they did Encore. They're not showing an encore.
No, they probably didn't do an encore. They're a warm up act at the time.
Oh, yeah, 1974. That's true.
They're opening. And that's interesting. It's interesting. So when did you say July 74?
July 11th, 1974 at the West Palm Beach Auditorium in West Palm Beach, Florida.
How about a stage show?
Well, if you look at this first album and you watch the show, that show on video, I think we covered a little bit of this before, but they're basically wearing like leather stuff, and they're wearing skin tight stuff. Nothing is protruding out. They're not wearing the big boots. You can see signs of what's to come. And we may have said a little of this before. It's kind of neat actually because you can see how each person, each one of the band members, how their outfits like kind of evolved and became bigger and bigger and bigger.
And this was the infancy. It's
Absolutely, yeah.
all mostly black.
Yeah, mostly black.
Simple. Ace had a
lightning bolt going across.
Yeah, it was a T-shirt with a lightning bolt. Yeah, there was really what I saw.
But you definitely see from it. You see the distinct persona of each one. That's the kind of thing that was neat because then they evolved and you see where it evolved to, but you can trace it back all the way to when they began.
And what I saw from the videos, there was really no stage show yet. The only thing that jumped out at me, the evolution.
I think I know where you're going.
The evolution of the Kiss sign.
Yeah.
Is amazing to me. Like to watch that in June or July of 1974. It's not even lit up. It just looks like a metal Kiss sign that was thrown back there. And then, I'm within a couple years, the, does the goes up the lighting, and like we're gonna watch the whole evolution of the Kiss sign while doing this, the evolution of the costumes doing this.
Right.
We already talked about. We talked a little about the evolution of the makeup. Like when you watch that video, Peter Chris doesn't have his little tribal lion makeup anymore.
Right.
Ace Frehley's hair,
It's
finally
not
he
silver.
washed the silver out of it. Like that's the cool part that
Well, people criticize Kiss all the time, and they say they're all bells and whistles, and it's not, the music or whatever. But the thing that they don't get enough credit for, and what to me what makes them the most legendary best band of all time, to me, I'm partial, is they had a vision, and they kept on evolving that vision, and even when they had some things fall through, they still had Gene and Paul driving the engine, and it still kept it alive for the other members to go in and out at times.
definitely an evolving band. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And going back in time, this was a lot of fun for me to go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To go all the way back to 1973, 1974, and look at the music production.
You're gonna laugh when I tell you this, but we're reliving our childhood because that's what we did when we first got into it in the first place.
Yeah, it was, at 49 years old, it was kind of cool. I mean, who normally listens to a record from start to finish anymore? I can tell you right now,
this era.
I don't. I don't really do it. I don't buy a lot of music. I go on Spotify. You get 15 seconds.
Right.
I hit the song. If in 15 seconds it doesn't catch me, song number two, you get 15 seconds. For this, because we were doing this, I put that record on and listened to that record from start to finish, and I'm happy I did. And then I went and researched a couple things. I watched the live show video, which it was interesting. It was interesting to watch Kiss as a warm up act. It doesn't say that they're,
and even though they're in makeup, you can see the kids. You can see that they're kids.
Yeah, and you can tell that their evolution is in its infancy.
Right.
And now, like, because you're looking back now, you know what it evolved into. Like, I can't wait to take this ride.
Right.
To Hotter Than Hell, to Dress to Kill, to go on to Destroyer, to as it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you wonder why it exploded. Well, that's a lot of the reason. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's funny because as they got bigger, so did the Kiss sign. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember, we're getting ahead, but I remember, I think it was Asylum. The Asylum tour was the biggest Kiss sign I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
It went from the floor of the stage all the way to the roof of the stage.
I hadn't thought about that in years.
And when they lit it up, it lit the entire arena.
Yeah.
And they started out with, what looks like, it looks like looks like maybe 2 foot tall.
Well, this is totally a sidebar subject for another time, and maybe we'll cover it down the line. People say what they want about Kiss, and I, even myself, at times, especially in the last couple of years, it's about money making. Let's get as much out of our brand as we can. But they never cheaped on the fans when it came to giving you everything you could possibly do on a live show. Could you imagine how much that sign costs?
Oh, that's going to do it for us today. But before we go, I promise you, we will be back for another episode of this because it's just too much fun to stop doing now.
Absolutely.
Do us a favor. Tell us what you think. Do you think Kiss's first album is their best album? What's your favorite song on that album? Drop it in the comments below.
Yeah, we seriously want to hear from you because obviously we're doing this because we love Kiss and we like all the different layers of the onion that they provide. So, We want to hear your comments and get your take, experiences. If you've been to concerts, different things, you know.
And hit that subscribe button, please. It helps us out greatly. Doesn't cost you anything. Makes me happy to see that number go up every time it goes up. What do you think? Next episode, we'll just cruise right into an album review of Hotter Than Hell.
Hotter Than Hell seems like that's the second album.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll just so stay tuned for our next episode where we do Hotter Than Hell, start to finish. As it said in the intro, you wanted the best? Well, they retired. So you got two dudes in a garage talking Kiss. Be safe, live the dream.